I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna fly this little 215, and I say little, it's not, it's a beast. It's a 5-inch beast. You can fly up to 6S, and it's pretty awesome. So let me go ahead and get it bound up, and we'll go ahead and take a line of sight flight test. Then we'll do some FPV. Here we go. Look at that. I'm just barely playing with the throttle right now. It's in acro mode, so ready to do a punch out. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. 1, 2, 3. Holy crap. Not even sure which way it's facing at that point. Wow, that was crazy. That's a 4S 1300. Look at that. That thing is nuts. And I have some new Fpv Flow props on there from EMAX. This thing is going to be a pure ripper. Wow. Probably one of the most impressive quads I've flown lately, honestly. As far as 5-inch, this is really, really smooth. I have D-Shot 600 running on here. And it's crazy because I wonder how powerful this thing would be. 6S is just going to be totally off the hook. About to fly into the tree. Yeah, 2306 motors on 6S. It's probably going to be the most powerful quad in your whole fleet. Look at how slow and gentle it can fly too as well. Super smooth sounding. Really nice. I'm impressed. Let's go ahead and do one more punch out, and then we'll do some FPV, you guys. 1, 2, 3, here we go. This thing is so fast. So I gotta say, the acceleration on this is pretty touchy. I think even under half stick, I'm super powered. So when I go full throttle, it's just so quick that I'm afraid I'm just draining battery too fast. So I'm always thinking about saving battery and having the most time out of my flight. So it's very important that you don't just gun it the whole time on this quad, because those 2306s, they're gonna drain your 1300 pretty quick. So go easy on the stick. You can actually really still rip around a quarter throttle to 50% throttle. It's pretty amazing how powerful this system actually is. Welcome back from that exciting flight test. This is the Fpv GT215 millimeter frame, and this one's called the Fire Dancer FPV racing drone. It can be flown on 4S, 5S, and 6S batteries. It's a really nice quality 3K carbon fiber, and it has 4mm replaceable arms on here. So if you break one of the arms, you can replace them by getting a new frame kit or just the arms themselves and putting a new one on there. It also has an Omnibus F4 and Betaflight OSD already flashed on here, and it has Betaflight 3.2 firmware on here as well. So very most current firmware on this quad. Now, what I got excited about immediately when I first saw this quad on GearBest's website was the fact that it was a super low profile frame, X-frame, replaceable arms, insane motors on here, the 2306, 2400 in conjunction with the 4-in-1 35 amp ESCs with over a 40 amp burst. I knew this was going to be a 6S machine and super fast out in the field. I mean, it looks fast just sitting here on the bench. This thing is super low profile. Now, it does come with a little shorty pagoda antenna, but unfortunately I broke mine while I was flying it for the first couple packs, and I just replaced it with this Amway. Now, the video transmitter on here, it does support 48 channels, and it's on 5.8 including race band. It's also switchable between 25 milliwatt, 200 and 600 milliwatt. So if you put a longer range receiver on here, you're going to get some pretty good distance out of 600 milliwatt. It does come with sort of a kind of what I call a park flyer receiver on here. You can see this little antenna sticking out. I just have one little tiny antenna there, and that's usually used on micros, but recently they've been putting these smaller antennas on here. You're not going to get as much range with that smaller antenna, so what I would recommend doing is putting an XM Plus on there, and you'll be able to get a full range out of that antenna. This one doesn't go as far as I would like it to. But the video transmitter is really easy to work with, and if you just look at this really close right here, you can see two buttons right here. One is for power, and the power bars are right here. There's two LEDs right there, and then you have all of your numbers 1 through 8 on this side, and you have A through F for your different bands here on this side. You see this blue light here, and all the way in the back, all the way in the middle of the quad almost, is where you see another white light way back there. That's your channel light. So if you get in here and you're able to press that furthest back button right there, that's going to switch your channels. So you're going to be switching video channels doing that. You can see that white light on the right going. And if I long press 2 to 3 seconds, then I'm going to change bands. You'll see that blue one move to the next one over. So I can do that as well, or I can press the power button right there. You see the red light right there? This is on the highest band. If I press it again, it's going to put me on red. If I press it again, it goes out, and that I believe is 25 milliwatt. Now, one of the highlights of this quad is definitely the motors on this power system. The 2306, 2400 kVs. These things are super punchy. At a quarter throttle, I was feeling like I was at a good cruise speed. At 50% throttle, it really started to feel like I was going somewhere, and at full speed, 75% to 100% throttle is where I was kind of wanting to slow down at that point, even on a 4S battery. If you're on a small race course, you're probably going to be flying like 50% throttle with this power system half the time. And one other place I feel like they did a really nice attention to detail was the fact that they used braided coating over top of the motor wires going to the ESCs, and they tuck the ESCs from the back side like this, and this is usually how I'll build a quad. You can see that the wires don't come out on the outside and they're hanging out on the outside. They actually come in and back around, and that's what you like to see on a more professional type of build. Also, to take it a little detail, even a step further, another detail is the fact that they do have heat shrink here as well. So they have it here off the end of the motor, as typically you'd see covering the wires at the edge of the motor, but they also incorporated the braided coating right here. So you have two sections of strength along these wires to keep them intact during some of your hardest crashes. Now, one of my pet peeves on some of the quads is the fact that people don't put a zip tie around where the battery cable goes to the ESCs, and a lot of times if you just get a quad, you fly it a few times and then you realize, oh wow, my battery just came off. You walk over and these two have separated from the ESCs, but nice that they put a little zip tie around it. You do have two spots on the very bottom of the frame for a zip tie to go through. This just keeps the tug off of the ESC itself and puts it on the wire instead. So it's pulling on the wires, not the ESC. Now, one other thing I liked about this frame is the fact that it does have this long post that goes over the whole top of the frame, protects everything inside. The camera is really simple here, designed with a piece of carbon fiber from front to back and an adjustable point right here, and it's going to use an Allen wrench to adjust that camera point. But you have plenty of tilt here with the camera. You can go all the way up past 50 to 60 degrees if you want, and on the very top they have another piece of carbon fiber up here, and this is pretty thick. It looks like 2.5 to 3 mil up here, and it's long enough to even get like a Runcam 2 or the Foxeer Legend 3 up there. I was able to put my Foxeer Legend 3 on there without seeing it in the camera tilt, which is kind of amazing because this is a pretty long top on the body of this quad. And I just wanted to give you guys a bottom look at this quad, and you can see how low profile these arms are, and you have this center bottom plate right here, and it's sandwiched with the top plate that comes out and from the rear right there. But these are replaceable arms, like I was saying before. You don't have much exterior motor bumper on the end of these, so this is more of a professional quad. This is not really kind of a beginner quad. I would say this is something more like intermediate to expert quadcopter. It's definitely super fast, very powerful, and probably not something you want your kids flying. Now, what I tell people for a tip, most times if you get a quad from China, go over the entire thing with a driver and check to make sure that all your motor bolts, number one, are all tight, and then go over the frame bolts as well from top to bottom. That way you don't have anything vibrate off or a motor fly off during your first maiden flight. Now, this camera is around 960 TVL. It's a pretty nice camera. It is a CCD camera, but it does have sort of a GoPro style lens on here. It's 2.1 millimeters, so it's pretty nice and big. It has a nice view angle on it. It also says on their website that it does 1080p HD video, which I'm not 100% sure if it does, but that's what the specs say. So let's go ahead and put the 215 on the scale and see what it weighs on the dry weight. No battery. 322 grams. It's not too bad. Let's go ahead and put the 4S 1300 on there. This is a Tattoo R-Line race spec battery. We've got 486 grams total takeoff weight, so not the lightest quad in the world, but you're going to have a ton of speed with this, so you're not even going to notice any of this weight in the air. Now let's go ahead and talk about some final thoughts on the Fpv GT215 Fire Dancer. You know what? I like this low profile frame. I like the fact that it doesn't have extra carbon sticking off this direction like the X215 did on the bottom plates. It is a nice motor bumper, but it just makes everything a little more streamlined, and I think that's what they're trying to do with this quad. They're trying to make it as low profile as possible with this top frame, these two aluminum bars over the top, and you have a very low profile stack in the middle right there, but it seems to have a little sleeker look than the original X215. In my opinion, it looked a little bit like those egg drones. You guys remember the egg drone that we had on the channel from King Kong? It just kind of had this sort of rounded look, and I like this flat, sleek look a little bit better, and the way these arms look on here, and the fact that they're replaceable as well is also a big bonus. So huge power system, great looking frame, nice components, one of my favorite flight controllers on here, and up to 600 milliwatt on this transmitter. So I think it's a pretty good value for under $150. This is getting a little bit crazy what you can get for $150 these days. So if we were to compare this one to something like the Fpv Pro, the 215 Pro that just came out, it's sort of an upgraded version of the original X215. You guys have seen on this channel before. I love that one. It was a great review, but this one has a bigger power system on here, 2306 motors versus 2206 on the Fpv X215. Even the 215 Pro is rocking those 2206s. So on here you have the 2306s, and it's just going to give you a little more power. You also have a bigger ESC stack on here, 35 amp versus 30 amp. So I'll take all the extra amps in that 4-in-1 ESC that they'll give me. And the higher the amps and the higher rated the ESC you have on here, the better chance you have to run 5 and 6S with less problems of brownouts. So that's going to be a big advantage. The more amps we can get in the 401 ESC coming up this year, if you guys want to try something like 5 or 6S, you're going to be better off with something 35 amp and above. And another positive of this particular one is the fact that it does have switchable up to 600 milliwatt VTX. So if you're racing on race band, you can go down to 25 and you can race multi-GP races with this one, or you can switch it on the fly, go up to 200 and 600 milliamp. So pretty good distance. 600 milliamp might get you out there beyond a mile's range. So in my opinion, this quad probably has the best power per dollar ratio out there of any bind and fly quad. And it does come with a few different varieties of receivers. You can get DSMX on this one, so you Spectrum guys aren't left out. You can get Fly Sky if you're flying one of those radios. You get FR Sky transmitter receiver, and you can get it PNP, which, as most of you guys know, PNP means without a receiver. So you can add whatever type of receiver you want. If you want to run a little Crossfire Mini on here, you could do that and really extend your range on this guy, make it a long-range cruiser. Now, I don't have a whole lot of bad stuff to say about this quad. Now, one feature I really did like is the fact that it doesn't have a dipole coming off the back. Some of these quads recently, I've seen dipoles, and some of the dipoles just aren't that great for kind of getting out there a couple hundred meters. But this is really nice because you have the option. You could plug in a dipole back here. So you see this plug right here, you can snap that off and you can run a dipole at the back if you want to have something a little more durable. But if you want longer range, you can use a nice big clover leaf on the back as well. So you can do either option on this quad. So the GT215, in my opinion, is going to be one of the trusted quads you can get this year. I'm definitely going to say it's not for beginners. It's something that if you have a problem with it, you need to be able to work on it, and you also have to be careful with it flying it, because this one can rip your face off pretty easily if you flip the wrong switch. So you want to be careful with these 5-inch quads, guys. But you know the deal if you've already been flying 5-inch. If you're new to it, just be careful and kind of be ready for anything, so to speak. But thanks for watching this review, you guys. This was a lot of fun. This is the Fpv GT215 Fire Dancer. Pretty awesome quad. I'll try to find a coupon for you guys and put it down below. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Merry Christmas out there to everybody that's watching the channel. Please do subscribe, because you never know, I might give this one away coming up. Who knows? I'll see you on the next one.